r/ask Reddit. Reddit, what's your favorite way to subtly duck with people? At work there's a file on the computer for printing off employee name tags. They're very basic and will just say their name with store assistant or whatever their role is underneath. I started going onto the file and slightly changing their names, then replacing their name tags when they leave them in the staff room. Then seeing how long it'll take them to notice. Heather the assistant manager was Heater the stank manager for 4 whole days before someone pointed it out. I have a presentation at work I use regularly where we did something similar to the title of one slide. Only a few people have ever commented on it, and I often wonder if everyone else either doesn't notice or is afraid to ask. When I had to give presentations or whatnot at a big corporate job I did this. Not to duck with people, though. To prove when people were stealing my work and passing it off as their own. I'd also add a text box in the background. The same color as the background. That said made by Fiesky Ice or something to that effect. Where I live, there's this walking path that's about 5 miles. It's alongside a main road. Since I ride my bike a lot, I've had a chance to explore, and I discovered that there are plenty of loops and trails within the perimeter of that walking path. But most people in the area just know about the main path, and don't know about these loops, or how long they are, so they just walk around the circle. When I'm on my bike, and I see people walking the perimeter, I'll pass them and then do one of the inner loops for 5-10 minutes. Then I'll go back out on the main road. Then I'll pass the walkers I saw minutes ago, and I'll do it again, and again. More than once I've heard someone say, how did she get behind us again? Like it's some glitch in the Matrix. The second time you pass them, they go, hang on, isn't that the chick who passed us before? Nah, must be confused. Third time, okay what the duck, that's gotta be the same person. Fourth time, chasing you down. Come back here, why are you following us? Even better if you ask them what the current date is the second time around. And if they tell you that you passed them before, get really agitated and ask them details about where you went and what you were wearing. Open bracket. Bonus points if you swap clothes in between. Occasionally if my coworker is having a bad day I will say to her, at least we only have 3 hours left. So recently when we are down to our last 10-20 minutes I tell her at least we only have 2 hours left, and she freaks out and looks at the clock. I like to think I'm being helpful, but she doesn't always see it that way. My nephew once, out of the blue, just stated, you know, some things just take 3 hours. We're not sure where it came from, but your story reminded me of it. When I was 6 years old, I was on a road trip with my family, and I was in my seat, staring blankly out the window of boredom. Then for some reason, I had an epiphany, and had to tell everyone in the car. I got both of my parents to stop having some intense debate to listen to my great revelation. Did you know that vipers can kill you? So now, I'm 24 years old, and for 18 years my family has replaced the phrase, this is off topic, but, with, vipers can kill you, but, as if it were the normal way to communicate that concept. Someone leaves gnomes in my parents' garden. We still don't know who, but every time they have a big gathering it happens. I like the fact that it's during gatherings, and not just random happenstance. Random happenstance. Somebody could be sneaking in and doing it while they're not there, but if it's happening during gatherings, then somebody is smuggling gnomes into a crowd, and that's simply a beautiful thought. Someone they know is smuggling gnomes. This is not just some random weirdo. Oh no. Someone they know. Someone they invite to parties, exchange Christmas cards with. Someone they probably think is a perfectly sensible adult with an opinion on the economy and which wine to have with dinner, is secretly a gnome smuggler. Have a friend named Carrie, and I called her Gary for a good year before she noticed. This is unrelated and I'm not sure if I count as ducking with someone, but I knew this girl named Carrie in high school who was campaigning for prom queen. She made a bunch of posters using scenes from Stephen King's Carrie with Sissy Spacek basically saying, vote for me, or this will happen. She won. This is the best. I tell people no hablo inglés when they try to stop me on the street and sell me something while speaking Spanish. They get confused for a moment and I slip away. Edit for context. I'm Latina living in a Dominican neighborhood in NYC where Spanish is the dominant language. This is the conversational version of a smoke bomb. My friend's equivalent is to say sorry, I don't smoke regardless of what they ask, then wander away while they're standing looking confused. Hit caps lock on my coworker's lock screen every time he leaves his desk. Underrated idea here, this would definitely piss some people off. I'm pretty sure my cat has done this to me before. Not quite the same. I frequently have to write technical documentation. Then it'll be reviewed by peers or tech writers. I will frequently put in Easter eggs to verify that people have actually read it. Blah blah blah, the router configuration is monitored by werewolves blah blah. Edit. My most upvoted comment is about me being a smartass. Fitting. In long sops or things at work, I'll always try to make up one new word and insert it somewhere where it kind of makes sense. D10 forms must be enfilated alphabetically. Insignification by supervisors is required on all requisitions. The bosses and the lawyers read them and have yet to correct one of my fake words. People must read your sentences and say to themselves, well, shit, learned a new word today, and then go home to proudly tell their spouses. Grab a few friends. Put your arms around each other. All face one direction and smile. People crossing your path in public will notice you and think they're walking through a picture you're taking. They get very confused when they see there's no one taking a picture of you, and you just smile and stare. Also wear the same clothing, preferably a robe, while doing it. Congratulations, you are now a cult. Grab a few friends. Done. I like to replace my roommate's sock drawer with his underwear drawer. I just pull them both out and switch them. I've been doing it for a week now and he's starting to lose it. Edit. I've been told this is gaslighting, and after looking into it I realized it's probably not a good thing to do even in good fun. So I'm gonna stop. Edit 2. Oh my god, all of you chill out. Better yet, find some pairs of his brand that are off a size and slip them in. That's a good one. In my old days as a server, I would sneak packs of mustard into co-workers' pockets or aprons. I was eventually found out and titled the Mustardman. I had a big puffy coat and one day I came home from serving tables with 6 lemons stuffed into my pockets. Mustardman. Woo woo. Bow down. Back when I worked at GameStop, we would get a surprising amount of prank phone calls. My favorite way of dealing with these hooligans was to just pretend I couldn't hear them. More than a few times I've gotten some kid to scream Battletoads before hanging up on them. Back in '99, just before the Y2K scare, my buddy worked there and would get calls like that all the time. He would pick up the phone when they called and not say anything for a second to see if he could hear any snickering before saying the store greeting. If he could tell it was going to be a prank call, he would start the greeting and then congratulate them on being the lucky caller that would receive a free game for calling. All they had to do was come down and pick it up. Sounds stupid, but it worked every time. When the kids showed up to get the free game, he would then pose with the game they chose, take their picture with a Polaroid camera, take the game from them, and then ask how does it feel to be pranked, stop calling the store and get out. He kept the pictures to hang on the back wall to warn other employees of the shitheads who prank call them. Probably wasn't legal, but knowing those kids pranked backfired on them is pretty funny. r/Theharau Ediserve edit. Oh shit, I just caused a subreddit. Mark that off on the bucket list. Edit 2. Holy Buffalo Batman. 1k plus upvotes 2. That's 2 things off the list in one comment. I say no pun intended when there is absolutely no pun whatsoever. Fun to watch people reflect on it for a bit and see if they'll ask what the pun is or just pretend to get it, etc. I always tell them after a minute that I was just ducking about. Don't like leaving them in the dark. If they ask, just say there was no pun. That's why I said no pun intended. I mean what I say. Stacy. It's Mark without an O, but there's no O in Mark. What the duck did I say then? Stacy? All those useless things you sign up for and they need a number, but you know telemarketers will call. I use my old work number. Hey, the guy who used to have my cell phone number does something similar. RIP. I ask them if there's double letters or not in some words. I always forget. Does Friday have 1 Y or 2? Friday, the day of the week when menus must consist of foods such as fried chicken, French fries, fried pickles, and deep fried Oreos. I'm going a little old school on this one, wearing a shiny watch and beaming sunlight into people's eyes who I don't particularly care for. I just use my phone screen. The future is now. Sometimes, I mispronounce a word, and when people give me a weird look, I say the word correctly. For example, I'll say ice cream instead of ice cream. When people are like, did that dude just say ice cream? I'll say ice cream for the rest of the conversation. I once saw a comment on Reddit from someone who did this with take care. They would say dong hair. I was a server for a long time, and there was one grizzled old professional who would say, how are you ducks doing tonight? And it sounds like folks. Pretty funny. Having a disagreement with someone and then say yeah okay you're right and walking away. Leave them with some argument blue balls. This has become a requirement with my mother on the phone. Ma, by the way, look at the moon later tonight. Mars is supposed to be next to it and nearly the same size. Me, not possible, unless the world is ending and our gravity has been getting ducked up for weeks. That can't happen. Ma, yelling, yes it is. I read an article about it online earlier. It's supposed to be the closest it's been in years and you can take a photo of the two of them next to each other. Me, mom it can't happen. It's not possible. The internet lied to Ma. Yes it can. And it will. Me, alright. Love you mom. Have a good night. Get a picture for me. LOL, I literally saw this Facebook post today. People will believe literally any image if it has text on it. I like to pretend I don't know what a simple word means and have them explain it. Also, staring just past their head makes people always look. On Monday and Thursday at 7:30 PM wearing the same clothes, I'd go into the same 7-Eleven, get the same thing, greet the same cashier the same way, and always ask him, is there a bathroom I could use? I did that for 5 months. The poor man. Honestly, if that happened to me, I would just think the person was autistic and not give it further consideration. If people are tailgating me while driving, I'll spray my windshield wiper to clean my windshield. Nothing makes me laugh harder than seeing the car behind me wipe off their windshields because the spray hits their vehicle. So, fun story. One of my dormmates in college had a Jeep with a busted rear windshield wiper. The blade arm had snapped off in a windstorm, leaving just the tube dangling behind in the center of the bottom part of the window. Thing is, the wiper fluid is pressurized. This meant, when he activated the wiper, the tube would grow, erect, and then spray directly backwards away from his car thanks to the wind. His car could literally ejaculate onto another car's windshield like some kind of great, floppy dong car facial. Tailgaters would basically immediately slam the brakes and back way the hell off when it popped up and started spraying around. I'm sure it was all kinds of illegal, dangerous, but funny as all hell. Holy shit. Great floppy dong car facial. That's gotta be one of the best phrases I've ever read. If I'm watching TV and a telemarketer rings, I sound polite and interested but keep asking them to hold on for a minute and keep watching TV. I then apologize and repeat soon after. This can go on for a long time. I do this to those scam calls that say they are the Microsoft security department or whatever. I will pretend I'm trying to follow their instructions to give them remote access and string them along for as long as I can. Then at the end I'll be like, oh, I've figured out the problem. I'm on a Mac. If I really want to be stupid, I'll say I don't even have a computer. This is a microwave. They usually get pretty angry before hanging up. I usually just start reading steamy erotic fan fiction out loud. I'm a very tall fellow. People frequently ask me about it, so I've taken to telling them I'm 5 feet 17. Most people get too confused by the math to continue talking to me. Win-win. Edit. This is almost certainly the most comments I've ever gotten on anything. When I'm twisting a twist tie, I like to pinch it and twist it the opposite direction a few different times so it rewraps itself multiple times when you try to untwist it. I don't know who you are or where you live, but I hate you. I get slang purposefully wrong to mess with teens. Oh man. This sandwich is lit, eat 100%. Right? You wanna really duck with teens? Use it perfectly. Speak their exact language, down to the smallest detail. They'll wonder if any words are cool ever again. I started dabbing the kids at work. I'm 50. When walking past them on the street, stare right at them and say, I don't know if you can hear me, but please wake up. This would mess me up so bad. You're evil, but honestly, that's hilarious. As a schizophrenic, you are my worst fear, open bracket, and what I always hope is happening. Every now and then, I swap locations of cutlery in my kitchen. For the next few days, my housemates will be getting out a knife and spoon for a meal or a fork for a coffee, and they don't know why. One time for April Fool's, my son and I switched the plate cupboard with the cup cupboard. It ducked my wife up for months. She'd just be in there, like 3 months later, and you'd hear her open something, and then she'd yell, "Really guys?" My entire life, even when I've moved, the kitchen light has always been inside on the right. My new house is outside on the left. Almost a year later it still ducks me up. Ring a friend from a payphone. Say it's done. Meet me at location again and never let anyone know what happened in a nervous voice and hang up before they can respond. Next time you see them, casually ask if they'd like to hang out in the location from the call, and if they ask if you were behind the call, feign all ignorance. Ring a friend from a payphone. Where the hell do I find one anymore? Burner phone. Many years ago, before digital cameras were a thing, I and a friend were traveling around Europe. We would find a likely tourist family and follow them around surreptitiously, trying to be in the background of as many photos as possible. We were fairly inconspicuous, but I always hoped that when they got home and developed the photos that they would wonder about those two people who happened to be in every single photo they took. Edit. To all the well-meaning people trying to correct my grammar, I and my grammar are just fine. Thank you. I did this at prom with a friend of mine. We had a blast calling ourselves background people all night. We got married 6 years later. Good times. Take a screenshot of their desktop. Get rid of all the icons on their desktop. Then make screenshot their wallpaper. If you want to go extreme, replace their cursor with a blank curfile. Oh man, you're true sadist, alright. Just wow. I once recorded my chickens fighting and using a thing a friend of mine rigged up from an old motion sensing Furby, made so that anytime people entered my workplace, the sound of a chicken fight breaking out went off. I need to see that video. I say something, and if they aren't paying attention and ask what I said, I act as though I never said anything. By the third or fourth time this happens, they put themselves on edge, second guessing themselves over whether they're hearing things or not. Sometimes I'll just stop talking at random points during a conversation. Like, I'll move my mouth but cut out the middle part of the sentence. My uncle did this to my grandma on a family vacation once, and it ducked with her so bad that she honest to God thought she was losing her hearing. Hey, you cut out, could you repeat that? My parents believe that leaving the crust ends on bread is vital in keeping the bread fresh. I always eat the crust end when I open it. Also, when people say bless you to me, I say no, bless you. Edit. For some reason people seem to agree with my parents. No. For bread being priceless, it won't make much of a difference. Air doesn't just see a crack in the crust and go, oh, nope, that shit is closed. I guess I can't make bread stale now. Similar to your bless you thing, I say bless you to people when they cough or burp. People find it weird. I say bless you to people who fart, burp, cough, but when they sneeze I tell them to shut up. I will occasionally mispronounce someone's name subtly, for instance call Mike, Matt or Nick, and if they correct me say it doesn't matter. People hate this, and I promise I only do it to people who have done something to me first. Also, I'm hiding nickels all in more and more conspicuous areas in a colleague's office, driving them crazy. The first few were just on their desk, then in their drawers, on the floor of the office, taped to the back of their computer, wedged into the wheels of their chair, etc, etc. Before I left on Friday I taped a nickel to the bottom of her wireless mouse. This has been going on for a few months already, and it's the best $1.30 I've ever spent. When she finally finds them all and adds them up, get up and announce, has anyone seen my $1.30? Or you could announce, has anyone seen my $1.35? And have them live in horror. I just say things that don't add up with what they asked. Like, how are you today? Yes, sounds dumb, but it annoys the shit out of people and it's hilarious. Where are you from? 2 o'clock. Do you need anything? Okay. I look at someone's chin or forehead with concern when talking to them, and they always check to see if something's there. I talk about serial killers all the time. When the subject changes I bring it back. Please, you/toxic feelings, let me out of your basement. No. Anyway, Ted Bundy had a lucky teddy bear. Did you know that? In high school computer lab I would always quickly turn off my computer monitor while copying old Reddit comments to repost when my teacher would come around the corner and go oh shit, and he would make me turn it back on to see what I was doing, and it would always just be the spreadsheet or whatever it was I was working on, and he would demand to know what I was doing that I had to hide. This went on for weeks, and then one day while at the computer I see out of my peripherals this little Kyrgyzstanian man, my teacher, slowly sneaking up beside my desk on his hands and knees trying to get a look at my screen. All I could see was the top of his head, and it stayed with me to this day. It's at that moment you bring up a picture of Nicolas Cage and wishfully sigh when he thinks you don't know he's watching. Not subtle, but I love saying no to a manager/superior, even though I mean yes. Everyone is used to it. Hey, can you print off? No. Okay, thanks. I like to use. No, I'd be happy to. I'll usually listen to whatever someone is saying and then reply with, well, you know what they always say. Then I just stop talking and never acknowledge ever having said that. I live in Japan, and as a white foreigner people don't think I speak Japanese. I work the same shitty job that most fresh off the boat, English speaking, foreigners work in Japan, which is teaching English. I am not allowed to speak Japanese in my school, and so I will often hear students and staff talking about me or my classes in the lobby, usually good or neutral chatter. I have recently taken to responding to their Japanese in English. For example, student teacher's class was fun today, she was full of energy. Me, oh wow really? Thank you Hanako. They will usually say something like oh wow, teacher speaks Japanese, in Japanese, to which I will respond, in English, what? I don't speak Japanese? It's really dumb. But it's a nice form of entertainment during the grind, and I can usually keep the charade up for a few minutes before it gets stale. I work at a uni, where 1 week a year, religious groups try to hand out Bibles to everyone who walks through. To much abject failure, I have taken to signing the inside cover, handing it back to them, and saying it's always nice to meet a fan. I tell people no sneezing when they sneeze. It confuses the shit out of people who realize I didn't say bless you. My husband is super social and makes a ton of friends. I am not. He can spend hours standing in the Texas sun talking to someone, and I'm too awkward and don't want to be rude by making him cut the conversation off early because I'm sweating bullets and getting more and more grumpy each minute that passes. When conversations get directed towards me, I will purposely call the other person the wrong name, and when they correct me, I will call them by their name, but slightly mispronounced. So if I meet a Samantha, I will first call her Amanda, then call her Samhanda. They usually don't correct me the second time, and if they do I'll change it again, but still slightly wrong, like Samandra. So far nobody had corrected me after the second time, and they usually think my husband married an idiot and they just kind of stop the conversation after that. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.